You know those legends who built the very foundation of wrestling? The kind of men who made you believe this business was real, raw, and larger than life? Well, one of them, Mike Rotunda, better known to the world as IRS in WWE, is now fighting his toughest battle yet, and this time it's not in the ring. Reports have confirmed that the 67-year-old wrestling veteran has entered hospice care, surrounded by family, and the wrestling world is rallying behind him in heartbreak and prayer. Mike Rotunda's name might not ring as loud as some of the Attitude-era stars, but make no mistake, his impact on professional wrestling runs deep. He was part of the wrestling fabric long before pyrotechnics, scripted promos, and corporate polish took over. A man who wrestled during the gritty, golden era of WWE, when characters were simple, yet unforgettable. When he walked out wearing a shirt, tie, and suspenders as Erwin R. Shyster, fans booed not because they hated the gimmick, but because Rotunda made you believe he was that smug, tax-collecting villain. He was the guy who would grab the mic and scold the audience for not paying their taxes, and then go in the ring and wrestle with a level of technical precision that many today still study. There was something about Rotunda's in-ring work. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't about crowd pops or high spots. It was about storytelling, about pacing, about making every move mean something. And in an era when characters defined WWE's identity, IRS stood out as one of the most consistent and reliable performers. Before his IRS days, Mike Rotunda had already built a strong name for himself. Fans from the early 80s remember him as part of the U.S. Express alongside Barry Windham. Together, they were young, hungry, and patriotic, carrying the American flag into battle against heel teams like the Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov. Their entrance theme, Real American, would later become Hulk Hogan's anthem, but it was originally the U.S. Express who used it. That's how deep Rotunda's roots run in wrestling history. But beyond the matches, beyond the gimmicks, and beyond the gold, Mike Rotunda was a teacher, a mentor, and a father. His legacy continued through his two sons, Wyndham Rotunda, known worldwide as Bray Wyatt, and Taylor Rotunda, who fans recognize as Bo Dallas. Both men followed in their father's footsteps, carving their own unique paths in WWE. And it's impossible not to feel the emotional weight of this moment, especially since the wrestling world is still mourning the tragic loss of Bray Wyatt, who passed away in 2023 at just 36 years old. For a father who watched his son rise to stardom, redefine character work, and then be taken far too soon, this hospice news feels even heavier. It's not just about the end of a career. It's about the legacy of a family that gave everything to professional wrestling. Barry Windham, Rotunda's former tag partner and longtime friend, reportedly confirmed that Mike had entered hospice care. Windham and Rotunda's relationship spans decades. They were more than partners. They were family, both literally and figuratively. Together they represented a time in wrestling when storytelling mattered more than spectacle, when rivalries were built on respect and realism. The news has sent shockwaves across the wrestling community. Wrestlers past and present have taken to social media to share their memories and offer support. Old-school legends like Jim Ross and Ted DiBiase have expressed heartbreak. Younger stars, many of whom grew up watching or learning from Rotunda, have voiced their gratitude for his influence behind the scenes. Because even long after he stopped wrestling, Rotunda never really left the business. He worked as a producer and agent for WWE, helping guide the next generation through the complex world of sports entertainment. Those who knew him behind the curtain describe Mike Rotunda as a man of quiet wisdom. He wasn't loud, he wasn't political, he was dependable. When he spoke, people listened, not because of his status, but because of his perspective. He had seen wrestling evolve from small-town arenas to billion-dollar global entertainment, and he never lost sight of what made it special: connection. For decades, Mike Rotunda gave wrestling everything he had. From the territories to WCW, from WWE to Japan, his body of work is vast. He wrestled under his own name in the NWA and WCW, where his technical skill and mat-based style earned him the respect of his peers. In WWE, the IRS character may have been a gimmick, but Rotunda's execution made it memorable. You couldn't forget that voice barking, "Pay your taxes," any more than you could forget the $1 million Man's Laugh or The Undertaker's. Bell, it's also worth noting that Mike Rotunda was part of a rare generation that straddled both the old-school territorial system and Vince McMahon's national expansion. He saw wrestling transform from smoky gyms to massive arenas. He worked for promoters like Bill Watts, Dusty Rhodes, and Vince McMahon, men who defined eras. And through it all, Rotunda adapted. He never complained, never sought the spotlight. He simply did his job and did it better than most. That professionalism made him a valued name backstage, especially during his later years as a WWE producer. Many of today's stars owe a piece of their craft to his advice. He wasn't the kind of producer who tried to change who you were. He helped you refine it, focus it, and make it believable. In a business built on illusion, Rotunda always emphasized truth. Make the audience believe, he would say. That's what it's all about, and that's what made him timeless. Because when you look back at his matches, you don't just see a character, you see a craftsman, a man who took pride in the details. Every wrist lock, every suplex, every scowl, it all mattered. Now, as news of his hospice care spreads, the wrestling community finds itself in collective reflection. We're reminded that the heroes of our childhood are human. They age, they hurt, they fade. The larger-than-life figures who once slammed giants and stared down villains eventually face battles no one can win. But the beautiful part of wrestling is that no one really leaves. Their moments live on in memory, in video, in the chants of fans who grew up watching them. For fans of Bray Wyatt, this moment hits especially hard. You can almost feel the emotional symmetry. The father now nearing his own curtain call, after losing his son far too soon. It's tragic, poetic, and real. The Rotunda family has endured more than most, yet they've carried themselves with grace. Theirs is a wrestling family through and through, spanning generations of passion, creativity, and sacrifice. Mike's induction into the WWE Hall of Fame in 2024 was a moment of long overdue recognition. Fans cheered as he walked the stage, celebrating not just the IRS character, but the man behind it. The athlete, the mentor, the father. It was emotional, it was raw, and now, just a year later, it feels like a farewell that came right in time. Hospice care doesn't always mean the end is immediate, but it does signify that the fight is nearing its close. Those who have been through it know it's about comfort, dignity, and love. It's about surrounding someone with family and peace. And knowing the wrestling world, Mike Rotunda will not walk that final path alone. He'll have his family, his friends, and an entire generation of fans who still remember the way he made them feel when that music hit and IRS strutted down to the ring. There's something to be said about the way wrestling fans rally around their legends. No matter the era, no matter the gimmick, there's always respect for those who paved the road. And Mike Rotunda paved a long, winding one that passed through locker rooms filled with legends, through rings that told countless stories, and through a business that has changed more times than anyone can count. He was there for it all. He saw the highs and lows, the booms and busts, the cheers and the silence. And now, as he faces his most personal fight, fans can only offer gratitude for the memories, for the lessons, and for the legacy. In moments like these, wrestling reminds us of its most human truth. Behind every character is a real person who gave their body, their time, and their heart to entertain us. Mike Rotunda may have played a villain, but behind that scowl was one of the good ones. A man who lived the business with respect and left it better than he found it. As the news continues to spread, tributes are pouring in from every corner of the industry. Photos of his matches, clips from his promos, and heartfelt messages from his peers flood social media. Fans are revisiting his old matches, some for nostalgia, others for the first time, to remember what he brought to the squared circle. It's a bittersweet celebration of a man who gave his all and now deserves peace. Mike Rotunda might not have been the loudest voice in wrestling history, but his echo is undeniable. Every generation needs its foundation, and he was part of that. Whether it was as the straight-laced IRS, the patriotic U.S. Express, or the father of Bray Wyatt, the man always delivered. And that's how the wrestling world will remember him. Not just for the gimmicks, not just for the wins or losses, but for the integrity, the craft, and the quiet strength he carried through every phase of his career. So tonight, somewhere out there, As fans revisit his promos or hum along to that old IRS theme, one truth stands above the rest. Legends never really die. They just leave their stories behind for the next generation to tell.